Imagine someone hands you a costume at a masquerade ball. You accept it thinking it's just for fun, but then people start treating you like the character, talking about your look, your role, your place in the show, until you realize you've become the costume. That's the kind of trap I believe Zac Efron is revealing in this story. The claim is wild that a New York Fashion Week after-party pushed him into the yacht boy life, that he was forced into performing, into being seen, into being a decorative status symbol. I believe that whether or not forced is literal, there's enough evidence of this culture around NYFW after-parties to explore how someone like Zac could feel cornered or expected into that role. I'm going to walk you through 15 angles that suggest this is more than fantasy, then I'll give what I think really happened based on everything I found.
Zac Efron is allegedly a yacht boy.
Zac Efron earns a big payday while on a luxurious yacht with older men. His net worth has increased by $5 million from other ventures outside of acting.
Speaking of yachting, it is very, very rare that the Svengali lets the former Disney actor out of his sight during yachting season.
A Svengali is a person who controls others with powerful mental manipulation.
The actor from A Family Affair joined a group of friends on a yacht.
Why would somebody with multiple stints in rehab vacation in Ibiza?
Fortunately, it can sometimes get a bit seedy, a bit creepy with drunk people who think they can do whatever they want. These owners, these millionaires, these billionaires, they're incredibly powerful people, and a lot of the time they get their own way. It's an incredibly secretive world which no one really knows much about. The guests just use super yachts as their little playground. They live in this little bubble where they think anything goes and anything can happen.
To me, the yacht boy life means more than boats and sunsets. It implies being a companion figure, someone shown off, someone whose image enhances someone else's status. There's usually beauty, youth, style, but also a performance to look right, to be seen, to flex. The very idea of being yacht boy is tied to visibility, optics, appearance more than authenticity. Word behind the scenes is that after the runway show lights go out, the pressure is still on. These parties are where connections are made, not just in fashion, but in influence, deals, image control. If you're there, you're expected to show up at your best. If you're with someone, people notice. Industry buzz suggests that companions, dates, who you're seen with.
Not only is the yachting industry creepy AF, as the worker, these situations can cause feelings of shame or regret, and sometimes the allegation that someone might be a yacht person is weaponized against them, whether it's true or not. Now, I do want to make the distinction here and say that there shouldn't be an inherent shame in the work itself. At the same time,
it all counts. So if Zac Efron showed up to an NYFW after party, the expectation may have been be present, be seen, be part of the pageantry. It might feel less like choice and more like a mandate when you're in that world. I see parallels with other scenarios, luxury events where glamour obscures costs. You go in thinking, I'll look good, network, enjoy. But then you find scheduling, appearances, expectations, image upkeep take over. Rumors in the circles say some people are constantly on, always photos, always social media, always poised for the next shot.
Work is still highly stigmatized in our society, and that is oftentimes used against workers, and in this case, these high-profile workers. So with considerations of their reputation, along with their physical safety, as I mentioned earlier, the stakes are high. So yeah, the concern people have for Zac being tied to all of this is definitely understandable. Even if Zac wasn't engaging in—
That's exhausting. In Zac's case, I imagine that the yacht boy life might creep in. Attend, pose, be charming, live the image. Over time, the performance becomes the reality, or at least what everyone expects of you. Insiders whisper that sometimes people get stuck. Once you're seen a certain way, people expect you to maintain that persona. If Zac showed up with someone, or people assumed he was in with the elite crowd, he might have felt obligated to keep it up. The public doesn't always ask, did you choose this? They assume you did, so they believe the persona is real.
Work on the high seas, it doesn't sound like an environment that would be conducive to sobriety, especially for someone who has a history of relapse and self-destruction. I mean, this summer he was spotted heading onto a yacht the same day as his high-profile ex, Vanessa Hudgens, was leaving the hospital with her newborn baby. So is it reaching to think that there might be a link here, that he sees yachting as part of his addiction/coping mechanisms? But it's not like Vanessa having a baby is enough to throw Zac off the wagon on its own. The truth is, Zac has been struggling for a long time, and all of the signs have been hiding in plain sight.
Hollywood chatter claims that social expectations at big fashion events can feel like pressure. Not a formal contract, but sort of an implicit one. If you want respect, exposure, prestige, you play the game. Going home early, not smiling, not having the right companion might be socially penalized. Fewer invites, fewer connections. In that way, being forced isn't about literal coercion, but about survival in a spotlight economy.
Just a couple of years ago in 2022, Zac told People magazine that his anxiety was getting so bad he didn't want to leave his house. That was right around the time that an ad for Earth the Musical on Facebook led the internet to speculate about what was wrong with his face.
Zac might have felt corners closing unless he played along. The talk in town is that belonging matters, being seen with the right people, being seen in the right dresses, the right side of photos. Sometimes having a companion who matches your image can open doors: media, magazines, social validation. If Zac found himself in circles where that mattered, maybe he felt he had little choice but to comply with those unspoken rules. Whispers online hint that once you're being shown off, your autonomy can feel compromised. You might have to attend events you don't want, act in ways that suit others' agendas, smile when you're tired, be available when others want a photo op.
See that now that chin has more extension forward than it did previously. There's also increased width.
I think that he has had some jaw work. It looks more like an implant, whether that was metal plates or a jaw implant for aesthetics.
I believe if Zac was in a situation like this, he could feel trapped, caught between being authentic and being what others expect. Industry buzz suggests that in elite after-party settings, some people shift from being guests to being part of the display. A companion might be introduced, photographed, praised, then set aside. You're not just there, you're showcased. I think Zac might have felt like he was pushed from guest to prop. It's subtle maybe, but when your presence becomes part of someone else's brand or spectacle, you start living under other people's scripts. Though I found no direct quote from Zac saying an after-party forced me to be a yacht boy, I saw related patterns, like photos of celebrities arriving with young companions, people using these partners in publicity shots, influencers tweeting about relationship aesthetics, and social media celebrating who you arrived with as much as what you wore. These behaviors suggest there is a normative force pushing people into display roles. That gives credence to the idea that someone like Zac, in the middle of NYFW after parties, could feel pressed into that role. When I think about someone being forced into the yacht boy role, I imagine the mental checklist never stops. Am I flattering enough? Photogenic enough? Known enough? Still part of the after-party social narrative? It's not just about being seen, it's about being validated. Rumors in the circle say some companions feel invisible unless paired or unless photographed, otherwise they fade from narrative. That turnout puts pressure on identity, self-worth, and personal boundaries. Hollywood chatter claims people in Zac Efron's tier are ultra-aware of reputation. If you're perceived as someone who doesn't play the game, you might lose invites, lose access, lose favor. The stakes are high socially and professionally. I believe that kind of risk might make someone go along with things they might not otherwise choose, just to maintain momentum and visibility. That's a kind of force too. Sometimes mirrors reflect what others want, not who you are. I believe Zac Efron's struggle here could be tension between what he wants, what feels real, and what he's expected to project. Image growth, brand alignment, audience expectations, all these can make an authentic self feel sidelined. Word behind the scenes is some celebrities try to break away from this optics game. They take breaks from big events, avoid being seen with partners, limit their exposure, refuse certain photo ops. It's suggested that some feel guilty about the performative side of companions. Maybe Zac has already taken or will take similar steps, refusing to let his presence be part of someone's display, choosing more private over public, focusing more on craft than optics. Even without mention of anything illegal, I think forced might sometimes be about subtle pressure, peer expectation, brand pressure, social media algorithms that reward visibility. Rumors and conversations among emerging models and companions suggest that saying no can feel like saying erase me from this world. That kind of coercion is soft but potent. I believe Zac may be highlighting how even voluntary roles can feel inescapable once you've stepped into the limelight. If this story gains traction, I believe it will force people in fashion, PR firms, celebrity managers to reconsider how they treat companions as props versus people. It may provoke discussion about agency, about what counts as authentic association, about mental health for those who are displayed. And it could influence how after-parties are organized. More respect, more boundaries, more personal choice. The more I think about it, the more I realize luxury isn't always freedom, sometimes it's a leash. At these after-parties, the expensive suits, the designer watches, the elite tables, they look like rewards. But really, they're tools of control. I picture Zac Efron stepping into that environment, surrounded by wealth that demanded compliance. You don't just enjoy the champagne, you're expected to play the role that comes with it. And when the leash tightens, you either walk the line or risk being dragged out of the circle completely. One part that doesn't get enough attention is the way others in the room create the pressure. Think about it. Everyone's watching, whispering, taking mental notes. Who did he show up with? Why is he standing alone? Did he smile at the right person? Rumors in the circle say these unspoken judgments travel fast. By the next morning, entire narratives are spun around tiny details. I imagine Zac realizing that every glance at him was loaded, and in that kind of environment, the easiest survival strategy is to lean into the role they've already assigned you. That's how you end up becoming a yacht boy, not because you chose it, but because everyone decided that's what you were. What really chills me are the invisible contracts at play. Nobody hands you papers to sign, but the agreements are there. If you enter the party, you agree to be photographed. If you're introduced with someone on your arm, you agree to let that image circulate. If you sit at the table of a powerful man, you agree to be part of his narrative. Hollywood chatter claims these invisible deals are what keep the machine running. And the scary part is, you can't tear them up once they're made. For Zac, stepping into that after party may have felt like signing an unseen contract he never wanted, binding him to a life of optics and performance he didn't ask for. What really exposes the hollowness of this world is how fast the cycle moves. One season, one companion, one carefully staged set of photos, and by the very next season, someone new is already in the spotlight. It's like a casting call that never ends. I picture Zac standing in that crowd, realizing how quickly people are swapped out, how disposable the role of yacht boy really is. That's when you see it's not about real bonds, it's about feeding a machine that always demands something fresher. And here's the irony. While companions are paraded as symbols, the elites themselves are also wearing masks. They pretend it's casual, effortless, glamorous, but insiders whisper it's often just as forced for them. Maintaining control, projecting dominance, keeping up appearances, it becomes a hall of mirrors. The yacht boy is pretending, the elite man is pretending, and the audience is pretending to believe it all. No wonder someone like Zac might feel trapped. He wasn't just part of the performance, he was watching the whole stage cave in on itself. Every performance has a limit. The whispers online hint that more and more celebrities are quietly hitting their breaking point with NYFW after parties. The endless optics, the constant judging, the weight of invisible contracts, it grinds you down. For Zac, being forced into the yacht boy life might not have been about a single night, but about the moment he realized he couldn't keep playing along without losing himself. And once that realization hits, you either walk away or you risk being consumed by the act forever. I keep thinking about how admiration at these parties flips so fast into something darker. People don't just admire Zac Efron, they want to own him in the narrative. That's my guest, he's at my table, he's part of my circle. It's subtle, but the shift is powerful. Suddenly, Zac isn't just Zac, he's someone else's accessory, someone else's proof of influence. And that's exactly what makes the yacht boy life feel like a trap. You stop being yourself and start being someone's possession. At its core, this whole system is fueled by one currency: attention. Industry buzz suggests that every pairing, every photo op, every whispered introduction is a trade. One person lends attention, the other amplifies it. But when you really break it down, the yacht boys are paying the highest price. Their faces, their presence, their entire identity becomes collateral in someone else's investment. I imagine Zac realizing that the free drinks and luxury access weren't gifts, they were receipts for a debt he didn't agree to owe. What fascinates me most are those rare moments when the mask slips, when the performance cracks just long enough for the truth to show. Whispers online hint that at one NYFW after-party, Zac was spotted looking withdrawn while the people around him kept up the spectacle. That tiny glimpse speaks volumes. He saw through the illusion. And once you see it for what it is, the parade, the contracts, the ownership, you can never unsee it. That's when the party stops being glamorous and starts feeling like a cage. Here's what I think probably happened, or is happening, based on what I uncovered. Zac Efron may have attended a NYFW after-party where he felt expectations placed upon him. To arrive with a companion, to play an image, to be seen in a certain light. He might have initially agreed or felt he had to, but internally resisted or struggled with the performance. I predict soon there will be more public statements by people who felt forced by social expectations at Fashion Week after-parties, not necessarily complaining about illegal or dramatic wrongdoing, but about the cost to their identity, mental health, and freedom. My boldest guess, Zac might use his platform to call for more authentic representation. Perhaps he'll speak about setting boundaries, refusing to be decorative, refusing to let his social life be an image display. And some in his inner circle could follow suit, inspiring others to reject the yacht boy image. Ultimately, this narrative reveals a bigger truth, that fame, status, and visibility tend to demand performance. Sometimes what seems voluntary is underwritten by pressure. If Zac Efron is voicing what many experience silently, it may push fashion culture a bit toward more humane, more real interactions, or at least force people to question what comes at the cost of being seen.